Sly Cooper. It's a series of video games. Am I right or am I right? The original trilogy of Sly Cooper games were largely a success, and each third offered something a bit different. The first game is the black sheep of the series, being a largely linear stealth-based 3D platformer structured into hub worlds and levels that belong to those hub worlds. The second game changed the structure to being mission-based, and involved a whole bunch of new mechanics and gameplay to make each episode feel like an epic, elaborate heist. The third game kept the structure of the second game, but got confused and fucked around with a bunch of bullshit vehicles, minigames and ultimate playable characters instead of expanding on the glory of the second game like it should have. Idiots! All three games are great, and even if Sly 3 teeters on the edge of being rubbish, it is still a very good game. I can't even pretend to deny that. But there's more to the series than these three games. There is a fourth, made by a different team of developers, Sly Cooper, Thieves in Time. The question on everyone's minds, and I mean everyone's minds, is this. Is Sly Cooper Thieves in Time the best game in the series? It's a tough competition, but there's a chance it could be so. Let's see if it can overcome the overwhelming odds of 1 in 4. Now, the name of the game is Thieves in Time. I think we all know where this is going. What does a series of games do when it runs out of ideas? That's right, time travel. If a series ever does time travel, it usually means they can't come up with anything else. But in this case, it's not really fair to blame Thieves in Time. They were kind of forced into it by the third game, where Bentley announces his time machine at the end. The developers of Sly 3 basically announced they had run out of ideas long before the fourth game was even considered. The game begins with a prologue in Paris. Sly abandons his fake amnesia that he put on to be with Carmelita and joins up with Bentley and Murray again. The Thievius Raccoonus' pages are going blank, leading Bentley to believe someone is messing with the past and rewriting history. Or rather, unwriting history. To stop whatever is going on and save the Cooper legacy, Sly and the gang use Bentley's conveniently invented time machine to go back in time and fix the problem. If only we could all do that. This is actually one of the few series in video games where time travel is actually a really good idea, because Sly Cooper's whole deal is that he's from a long line of raccoon thieves going all the way back to the prehistoric era. The most successful family business of all time, established 10,000 BC. What an achievement. The reason this makes sense is because by traveling through time, you would get to see Sly's ancestors in action, and that's exactly what this game is about. We start by turning Japanese. While a very racially insensitive thing to do, it is the proper introduction to how this game works. Honestly, it's not that much different from the previous two entries in the series. The gang set up their hideout in a location where a certain villain is causing trouble, and each gang member has to complete a selection of missions to defeat the villain in question and stop their operation. This usually involves sneaking around, stealing things, doing some platforming, maybe some combat, or potentially some kind of minigame, all building up to a final mission, a grand heist. It's a tried and tested formula, and they would be foolish to change that for this game. But before I even get to that, the clue bottles, they're back! Fucking hell yeah! Clue bottles were present in the first two games. Each level in the first game had a bunch of bottles to find, and finding them all opened the level's safe and would unlock some kind of ability. Clue bottles also existed in Sly 2, spread across each episode's hub, and they were a great way of familiarizing yourself with the environment and connecting with the setting. In Sly 3, clue bottles were removed, which was a stupid decision. In Thieves in Time, they return and fulfill the same purpose as in Sly 2, so of course I went exploring. This wasn't just to get acquainted with the area, but also to get a feel for Sly. Because this game was made by a different team of developers, things feel a little different. It's like eating spaghetti bolognese, but not the kind that Mummy makes. And Sly and the gang do feel different. It's not that they're worse, it's just that they're different. Their movement and weight feels noticeably different to the other games, and it does take a bit of getting used to. But once you're used to it, it doesn't really matter that much. Sly is still agile and Bentley can still blow shit up. The only one to really suffer a bit is Murray. He feels a lot clunkier, and his combat definitely isn't as fluid as it was before. He feels stiff, like he's been in a coma for 2 years and can't quite remember how to fight. But he still gets the job done when it comes to whooping ass, so I can't complain that much. Like in the previous games, these characters come together and participate in a variety of missions to take down the big bad guy in pretty much exactly the same kind of structure, with very similar ideas and concepts at play. But Thieves in Time doesn't restrict itself with the main three as playable characters. There are many more, 6 more to be specific, which is more playable characters than even Sly 3. Now I got pretty annoyed with Sly 3 for being bloated with bullshit rather than just letting me play as Sly, so you would think that I would also be pretty pissed off at this game for doing the same thing. And in theory I should be. But most of these playable characters are basically just clones of Sly. This game is all about helping out the Cooper ancestors, but doing so involves the Cooper ancestors pitching in, and most of them play pretty much exactly the same as Sly, with the same movement and abilities. The only difference really is that each ancestor has a unique ability. The first ancestor you encounter is Ryoichi Cooper, who has this special Dragon Leap technique, which is basically an automatic ninja spy jump with massive range. Tennessee Kid Cooper is literally just Sly with a gun. Sir Galeth Cooper has this powerful hook charge jump, and Salim Al-Kupar can climb really fast. Which is honestly a really boring power, and even Salim himself is sick to death of it, but it's better than nothing. The only one who stands out from this crowd is Bob Cooper, the prehistoric ancestor. Because of his big, strong, deliciously muscular body, he doesn't have the same agility as the other Coopers, but he does have the ability to climb icy walls. With the Cooper ancestors being so similar to Sly, they don't feel like totally separate characters. It's more Sly gameplay, it's just a different Cooper. It doesn't feel like you're being bombarded with random crap, Sly 3. It feels like a minor twist on standard Sly gameplay. You can think of it as Sly in a costume. Although that's probably not the best analogy because Sly literally does wear costumes in this game as well. This is another expansion on Sly's base gameplay. In each episode, Sly gains a thematically relevant costume that grants him a new ability that will help him in certain scenarios that are more exciting than exchanging passwords with some nameless nobodies that patrol the area. Immunity to fire and reflecting fireballs, using a ball and chain as an attack or a vehicle, pouncing, shooting arrows to create tight ropes, and even slowing down time, because fuck it, why shouldn't Sly be able to do that? These costumes are only relevant occasionally, and it's actually better that way. I wouldn't want the game to be over-reliant on these costumes, as changing in and out of them repeatedly would get annoying. They're just like the ancestors in that it's Sly, but with a few more tricks up his sleeve. Or sleeves, because of all the costumes he has. Amazing how he manages to fit them all in that little backpack. The final clown in this circus of characters is Carmelita, who after being enraged at Sly's quote-unquote betrayal, ends up tangled up in this time travel business, literally. She's tied up, rescued, and joins the Cooper gang temporarily because she obviously has no choice. What's she gonna do? Shock pistol her way back to present-day Paris? I don't think so. Normally Carmelita plays more of a supporting role, only showing up occasionally in cutscenes and the like, and had a bit more of a presence in Sly 3, being playable in a few missions. But in Thieves in Time, she's front and center. Well, not quite, she only has a few missions here as well, but because she's a constant presence this time, and you're allowed to play as her whenever you want, she feels more relevant to what's going on, and you see more of her character on display. As a playable character, all she can really do is shoot. I mean, she's good at it, but it's basically all she has to offer. But hey, she's like that in the other games, so why not here as well? She also plays the role of slut where applicable, although Murray was very keen for doing that himself for some reason. Playing as all of these characters, completing all of their missions, and making it through the story helped me realize something. Thieves in Time might not necessarily be the best Sly Cooper game, but I reckon it is the perfect middle ground between the first three. If you were to make a Venn diagram out of the Sly games, Thieves in Time would be the center. It is basically a combination of the first three games. This makes more sense in my head, so let me translate my brain juice into English. Sly 1 was a linear game split into levels, which were very platforming focused. Thieves in Time features a lot of linear sub-areas that are platforming focused. Sly 2 had hub worlds and lots of missions that involve specific objectives, like pickpocketing items or eavesdropping on villains. Thieves in Time has all of that too. Sly 3 had a shitload of random-ass alternate gameplay styles, such as vehicles and minigames, that felt like cheap distractions. Thieves in Time also has a little bit of that, especially hacking. My sweet baby Jesus, there's a lot of hacking. But at least it comes in different forms. My theory is that if you like at least one of the first three Sly games, Thieves in Time will have something for you. If you like linear levels like in Sly 1, Thieves in Time has that. If you like missions with various objectives in an open area like in Sly 2, Thieves in Time has that. If you like random bullshit like in Sly 3, Thieves in Time has that too. I don't think Thieves in Time is the best Sly game. Personally, I would give that to Sly 2, because it has what I think is the best take on the formula. But I really like Thieves in Time, I think it's solid. The gameplay is a good balance of traditional platforming, fun objectives, and bullshit. And that's what I mean when I say it's the perfect middle ground for the series. It isn't the best at this kind of gameplay, but it's also far from bad at it. There isn't a single mission that I hate, or anything about the gameplay that winds me up. They didn't go too far in a single direction. They kept it focused, while also including enough variety to keep things interesting. It's a fun game. What made Thieves in Time more fun is the presentation. Clearly it looks different to the first three games. It makes sense. the game is by a different team and is on a different console. But I think this presentation style really works. It looks really cartoony, but that's the vibe of the series. There are lots of vibrant colours, and the time travel theme of the game allows for some really sick environments. The Wild West was a particular favourite, with a corrupt government official abusing his power to lock up people he doesn't like and also rake in a bunch of money. Just like America today. I even found the lighting to be quite good. But the real highlight was the music, which was a massive upgrade from the first 3 games. They had great soundtracks too, but Thieves in Time in my opinion is stronger. It includes new arrangements of old tracks, while also having plenty of new earworms as well. It's just a crispier, fuller sound. The only part where it starts to get a bit shaky is with the story and characters. The premise for the story is fucking cool. Like I said, they were kind of forced into it by the end of the 3rd game. There really is no other way to follow up that ending. And I really liked getting to see the Cooper ancestors in action. But I just don't think the story is told very well. It feels like a chain of happenstance. The first destination is feudal Japan, and there just so happens to be an artifact in the museum that Bentley can use in his time machine to get there. One of Le Paradox's minions just so happens to drop a sheriff badge after El Jefe is defeated, so the gang can get to the Wild West, where Carmelita just so happens to end up. As the gang are about to speed into a canyon, Bentley uses Murray's necklace to transport them to prehistoric times, where there just so happens to be another Le Paradox gang member, the Grizz, causing trouble, and so on and so forth. You see what I mean? It's all very convenient. I like the idea, but it all feels kind of thrown together, without much thought behind how one thing leads into the next. Kinda like how I've written this. There are also some other questionable choices, particularly in the realm of the characters. The dialogue and the personality of each character doesn't really feel quite right. I get that it's a different team of writers. It's like when you get a new boss who runs the show a bit differently to your old boss, like, that's not right, why are you doing it like this, it was fine before. But your new boss is never going to be the same as your old boss because they're different people. And that's what the writers are like for this game. They've got the general idea of the characters, but not the full idea, which leads them to making some strange decisions, like making Penelope a villain, for example. It was odd, because she had never previously shown any desire for wealth and power to the extent she does here. It's such an out-of-nowhere, unexpected, but also illogical villain twist for her character to take. But I suppose they had to do something with her, otherwise she would have been completely irrelevant and forgotten. I guess having her join the Paradox's gang is better than not having her at all. The Paradox himself also isn't a great villain. I mean, he's a better bad guy than Dr. M and fucking Clockler, but he leaves a lot to be desired. And his boss at the end, good lord, it's just a really long quick time event. It's a slow time event. It stings more than it should, because the other bosses in this game are actually pretty decent, if a bit easy. So to see this game's finale be this crap is a shame. In fact, the whole ending is a shame. It's a good idea in theory, bringing all the ancestors together for one last attempt to save the Cooper legacy and ultimately the world. And that little gauntlet section is cool. But it's just the characters being stupid right at the end that makes it such a frustrating ending. Why would Le Paradox try and send Sly and Carmelita to a random time period and then attack the machine while it's in the process? Of course that's going to lead to disaster. Why would Sly stay behind and fight Le Paradox when the whole airship is on fire and about to blow up? Of course that's going to lead to disaster. Why would Sly help Le Paradox up when he's about to fall out of the blimp? Of course that's going to lead to disaster. The ending is not at all satisfying. Everything is returned to normal, but Sly has disappeared with no trace of where he is. And that's it. I know the secret ending has him in Egypt, setting up for some kind of sequel or follow-up, but a sequel or follow-up never happened, so there's no resolve. That's just it. But to be honest, the story is not the most important part of this game, and besides, it's not offensively bad, it's just generally okay with some questionable choices. The point of the game is to be a fun game, not a compelling narrative, and Sly Cooper Thieves in Time is a really good game. I really enjoyed it. The only thing I actively disliked were the ridiculously long load times. Bloody hell. I get that traveling across hundreds of years of time is the point of the game, but the load times didn't have to make it feel like I was waiting that long. It was insane. I don't think Thieves in Time is the best Sly Cooper game, but it's a bloody good effort from a team who clearly tried to capture the essence of the series, and I think they did it well. It's a game that takes all the components of the first 3 games and mashes them together into one fun package. I can't complain. Thieves in Time did not overcome those 1 in 4 odds, but it didn't shit the bed, and in a world full of bed shitters, I can't really ask for much more than that.